Well, everyone, I'm somewhere in Kahawa West, and this is Nairobi, Kenya. And in the next 15 minutes or so, I want to explore this town and, if possible, turn it in and out from the residential area to the business area and see whether the place is worth its name. Well, this is the Great Northern Bypass, and if I had decided to go on my left, I will end up in Ruaka town, which is some 16.5 kilometers. And on my right is Ruiru town, some 8 kilometers away. But I have decided to go right into the town and see what it has to offer. Now, remember, Kahawa West is one of the most popular neighborhoods in Nairobi City. And for information, Nairobi City Center is not far from here. Actually, it is only 26 minutes or some 18 kilometers. The area is also densely populated. Actually, I will be giving you some numbers, crazy numbers, later in the video. I've never seen such population. And later on, I'll be visiting some other neighborhoods, one of them being Marurui, which is only a few kilometers from here. And it is also good to remember that this is not your ordinary neighborhood. Actually, it is home to one of the biggest prisons in Kenya, Kamiti Maximum Prison. And it is also home to one of the biggest universities in the country. Kenyatta University is in the neighborhood. So stick around until the last second. But before we dive deeper into the estate, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. We have dedicated our lives and resources to visit every small town and village across this country, regardless of their status, whether they are big or small, whether they are beautiful or ugly, or whether they show us love or hate. And so if you are new here, kindly consider subscribing to this channel. It's absolutely free so that we can visit and document every inch of this country. And as we say, every village has a story, and we are here to take that story. Now back to the video, and welcome to Kahawa West. It's quite a busy neighborhood. You can tell by the look of things. Everyone is going about their business. And remember, it's on a weekday. Actually, let me give you today's date. It is on a Wednesday, 5th June, the year of our Lord, 2024. And it seems like everyone is in the town. And I wonder what would happen on a weekend. It must be crazy. But this is a town. And it is also good to know that some people live here and work in Nairobi City, while some people live here and work here. And there are other instances where some people live elsewhere but work here. And so you are likely to find the town full all the time. And the road is not that quite good. It seems like someone somewhere is sleeping on the job. I'm not sure whether the road is under the county government or the national government. But in case it is under the national government, this is the Roysambu Constituency, if you didn't know. It stretches from here all the way to Muthaiga roundabout. That's why it borders Westlands constituency, and that's some free geography lessons. And so if you are well familiar with Nairobi, by now you would have known that some famous estates such as Zimmerman, Roysambu, and Githurai 44 are in Roysambu constituency. And that reminds me that last week I did visit Roysambu area, and the video is on this channel. The reception was quite good, so if you have not watched, you can go and watch it later. And one thing I noted is that the area also had similar problems as far as the roads are concerned. The area MP should just do something, or the governor, whoever is concerned, just recarpet the road. Kahawa West people deserve better. But apart from the governing side, it seems like everything else is pretty nice. It seems like business is thriving, and that's not common, especially in this era. Businesses across the country are not doing so well. Of course, if you are not new to the channel, I know you can recall that you have visited some dead towns in the past, especially in rural Kenya. But this is not the case here. In fact, it seems like Every empty space is occupied by business people. In fact, there are street vendors everywhere, and I'm quite sure if you are looking for a vacant shop, especially if you're a business person, getting one in this town, it will be an uphill task. And so for my business people, this is an area that you should consider. Well, I'll be getting to the interior part of the town any minute from now. In fact, I'm looking for any road that will take me there. I just want to see how people live. You know, sometimes you can find some big towns which tends to develop along the main road, but behind the scenes there are slums. But I hope this is not quite the case. In fact, this town seems to be developed. I don't know whether it is a town or a neighborhood or an estate. I'm not quite sure how to refer to it. So if you know, you can help us on the comment section down below. Well, you can see the town has come to an end. And so we are still in the neighborhood. And this very road goes all the way to Kamiti Maximum Prison, which is one of the biggest prisons in the country. In fact, it is the most notorious. Some crazy stories have been written about the place. And if you hang out with the locals, especially in the immediate neighborhoods, they will tell you stories about crazy encounters with jailbreakers. Well, I want to turn around so that I can get to the interior part of the town. But back to the prison story, and remember that Kamiti Maximum Prison is not a new prison. It has been in this place since the colonial era. In fact, the Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, who was hanged around 1958, is said to be buried there. And so these encounter stories with escapees have been in existence for decades. And I want to ask you a question. I don't know whether it's a moral question or an ethical one. So consider this scenario. Imagine you live in the neighborhood and one day while you are doing your thing, maybe you are just tendering your kitchen garden or you are washing your kids outside, you know, the African way. And all of a sudden your gut tells you that something is not right. Then you hear some movements and maybe your dog start barking and you decide to lift your head up and behold, a gang of 9 people are surrounding you. Of course, by now you are scared to death and you decide to take a quick look at them and just realize that they have this weird uniform and you are sure they just escaped from prison. You also realize that they are also frightened and they tells you that we won't harm you. We just need a little bit of help by sparing us some clothes that you don't use. So what will you do? Will you give them? And if you decided to help them and they hurriedly went their way, and 2 minutes later police came looking for them, will you report on them? Well, that scenario is based on a true story that was given by a comrade in a place called Kiamumbi that is around this area, which is just next to Kamiti Maximum Prison. And it actually happened to him. And so I want to know your thought about the ethical question. So write to us the answer on the comment section down below, and we will appreciate. Now back to the estate. And as you can see, I'm trying to venture right into the heart of the neighborhood. And I want to give you some interesting numbers about this area. And remember, Kahawa West is a ward in Nairobi County. And it has a total of 3 sub-locations, which include Kahawa West, Kiwanja, and Kongo Soweto. And I want to concentrate on Kahawa West sub-location, which is the home to this town. And it has a population of 40,753 people. 20,039 are men, while 20,711 are women. And so the difference between the two genders is quite small. In fact, it numbers about 650 in favor of women. And so I find it to be quite normal. There's nothing abnormal about that gender distribution. In fact, it seems like there's someone for everyone. But in case if you are a lady and you are unlucky, you can be among the 650 extra one. And of course, you'll have to share with your friends. That is, if it's well with your principals. Well, I'm a big believer of a free world, so just do you. But the number of men can be a little bit low. In fact, remember that the number of men I gave you in Kahawa West include the number of those in prison. And so the number of free men in town can be a bit high. And I wonder whether or not there is a Kamiti maximum prison for women. I have never heard of one. Actually, I've never heard of it. I don't know why. It seems like all the maximum prisons in Kenya are for men. And so if you have all the right answers to the question, you can tell us on the comment section down below. Well, there are 12,483 households in the neighborhood. And in the case of population density, there are 7,427 people living in a square kilometer. And as I told you in our last video, a square kilometer is equal to 250 acres. And so if you do your quick maths, you would realize that this area is densely populated. Well, I'm still cruising in the residential part of the neighborhood, and so far so good. It's a beautiful evening. The sun is already setting. In fact, it's about 6 in the evening, and we are still getting some good shots, although not the best. And so far, I'm loving the place. It is not heavily populated, as we saw in the town, but a good number of people are still here. And of course, I have just joined this road hoping it will get me back to the main road. There are still big businesses in this interior part. In fact, this one on my right seems like a big nightclub. And I know you have noticed that the road have turned from bad to worse. Well, it seems like it is the new norm in the area. In fact, I thought that it was only the main road that had the problem. But it is clear that the interior part of the estate is the most affected. Well, I don't know, but maybe these roads worsened during the heavy rains that were experienced a few months ago. In fact, not a few months, it's last month. And so it is understandable, but something must be done. And I'm in a hurry to leave this residential area as I want to take you to another part of the town. In fact, I want to show you the biggest factory in the area. And it is also the biggest employer in Kahawa West, and also the biggest factory in Kenya as far as bacons and sausages are concerned. And it goes by the name Farmer's Choice. Probably you have heard of it, especially if you are Kenyan, or maybe you have consumed their products. It is right here in Kahawa West. Of course, I'll be getting there in a few minutes. I can see the main road is not far from here. In fact, I'm almost getting there. But in the meantime, let me give you more numbers. And I will start with Kahawa West ward. And remember, the numbers I just gave you a few minutes ago are for this town only. And the ward has a total population of 82,823 people in a small area of about 15.2 kilometers squared. And if you are quite familiar with the Kenyan population distribution, you know that that's more than most constituencies in the country. And out of that crazy number, 40,930 are men, while 41,890 are women. In terms of population density, Kahawa West ward has 5,486 people per square kilometer, which is a bit low than the town itself, which I told you has a population density of 7,427 people per square kilometer. Well, you can see I'm back to the main road, and I'm going straight to the roundabout where we started, as the food processing company I just told you is only a few yards from the roundabout on the other side of the road. Well, it is also good to know that this is Roysambu Constituency, which is one of the 17 constituencies in Nairobi County. And before 2012, this was Kasarani constituency, but it was split into two, Kasarani constituency and Roysambu. And the two constituencies are still under Kasarani subcounty. And of course, I want to give you a few statistics about the subcounty. In fact, this is where it gets crazier. And one of the factors that really caught my attention about the small subcounty is that it has a total population of 780,656 people, which is almost a million. And mind you, if you were to rank the small sub-county as a county, it would rank at position 32, right behind the Nyeri County, and of course outshine more than 15 counties in the country. Well, in terms of population density, Kasarani sub-county has 9,056 people per square kilometer, which tells you that it is quite densely populated, while the annual population change is at 4%. Well, everyone, I'm on the other side of the town, and I'm having a field day here. It's a beautiful day, made by the Almighty for us to enjoy. Well, I know this place is giving a village vibe, totally different from what we just saw in the town. But that is because nothing much is happening here, since most part of this area is owned by the Farmer's Choice. And I'm told that the company does not only process sausages and bacons, but they are also involved in rearing pigs. And I don't know how true is this. In fact, I thought they only buy their products from farmers. And I'm sure you can see some go downs on my right. Of course, that's part of the company. And you can see the area is not that quite busy. Probably it is restricted to workers only. Or maybe there's nothing much happening past here. I'm not quite familiar with the protocols in this area. And there's a probability that they own both the left and the right sides. But let me continue with the numbers. And the sub-county, as I told you, is super densely populated. And I want to start with the gender distribution for the sub-county. And to start with, out of the more than 750,000 people living here, 381,234 are men, which makes about 48.8% of the total population. On the other hand, 399,385 people are women, which accounts for 51.2% of the total population. Well, you can see the number of women in the sub-county is still high, with about 18,000 more than men, while the number of those who identified as intersex in the sub-county is 37. Well, another piece of statistics that really caught my attention is on age distribution. As believe it or not, out of the 780,000 people living here, those aged 65 and above are only 7,316. Well, that's the lowest number of the elderly I've ever seen in this country. In fact, that's only 1% of the total population, meaning that the last thing that you are most likely to see here is an older person. And remember, I just set the threshold at 65 years, which is not that old. And so this raises a lot of questions than answers. Because one question that I'm asking myself is, where are the old people? Help me crack this one. Is it a question of early death, or older people are migrating to the villages? So what is not happening, friends? And the number gets crazier the higher you go, as those aged 90 and above are only 229 people in Kasarani sub-county. And so you can imagine 200 people out of 780,000. And for those aged between 80 and 89, there are 728. At least the number increased just a little bit. And for those aged between 70 and 79, there are 2,785. Well, the median age in the entire sub-county is the age group between 20 and 29, as there are 212,331. Also, the number of children aged between 0 and 9 is also quite high, as they are 175,303. Well, you've noticed that I just left the town and I'm approaching our second town, which is Marurui, but they are in the same sub-county and also in the same constituency. Of course, I'll be getting there in less than 2 minutes, and I hope you can see some civilization right at the background, especially on my left, and that is Githurai 44 for you, which is another densely populated area, and we'll visit it someday. Well, remember we are cruising along the northern bypass, which goes all the way to Ruaka, and our next town is on top of this hill. And so I'll be back with more information about Marurui, and so let's meet there in a few. Okay, guys, welcome back. And we are now approaching Marurui town, which is more of a settlement or an estate, but there is a small shopping center around. And it is good to know that this area developed rapidly after the construction of this very road. Well, in terms of administration, some parts of Marurui are in Garden Estate, while the other is in a place called Jathaine. And I'll be giving you numbers for both. And Garden Estate has a total population of 19,201. Out of that number, 9,827 are men, while 9,373 are women. Well, there's a gender difference of about 400 in favor of women, which is expected. And in terms of population density, there are 1,525 people per square kilometer. Well, by that number, you can easily tell that Garden Estate is a posh neighborhood, which is home to the rich and the middle class, as the area is not as densely populated as you would expect, especially when compared to Kahawa West, the town we just left. And I want to give you more numbers especially on Jathaine, which is another part of Marurui, and it has a population of 11,522, where 5,920 are men and 5,600 are women. Well, the population is a bit low here, and there are 3,992 households, and in terms of population density, there are 2,762 people living in a square kilometer. And that tells you that although Jathaine has a lower population, it is densely populated than Garden Estate by more than 1,000 people in a square kilometer. Well, another piece of information that I found to be quite fascinating about the entire area is on the level of education achieved in Kasarani. And remember, this covers both towns that I visited, and out of the 780,000 people living here, 63,000 people had university degrees. Well, this is the highest number I've ever seen in any sub-county, and I also found that 98,786 are college graduates, while 225,000 people have high school diplomas as the highest level of education attained. Well, let me leave you at that, and please continue watching the video until the end. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible, and also smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you'll be among the first few people to be notified. Also, keep the conversation going on the comment section below. Tell us what you think about today's video. Will you consider living in Kahawa West or Marurui? Is the place worth it or not? And I also want to give a special shout out to Team Village to Town TV, those who like and comment in every video. I see you. It's only that I cannot mention all of you. It's a big team. You all shall go to heaven. There is also a good number of you who have been asking how they can offer other form of support to the channel. Well, you can find our email on the About page of this channel. Write to us, especially if you have some nice cameras you are not using. Such equipment will help us a big deal to have some nice shots as we go around this country. Thank you.